How to change the internal hose on a Shark NV601UK and UKT. Now I've done this model specific video how to change the hose because my other one doesn't seem to be hitting the mark. This model has its own little quirks, so I thought I'd do one dedicated to this so people aren't struggling. The tools you need for the repair are a flathead screwdriver, a pair of long nose pliers. Also you're going to need a T10 and a T20 Torx screwdriver. Now most Torx screwdrivers nowadays have the little hole in the middle for the security screws, and then you need the hose itself and some kind of glue, which we'll talk about later. In no particular order, let's just get these screws undone. Underneath there are T20 Torx screws, and they're 2 at the back and then 4 across the middle section here. Just undo all those, and then on the other side we need to open the flap that covers the brush bar, and we see 4 T10 screws that go along the edge. Undo those, and then there's just a little one hidden away in the corner, and that just removes this little cover before you take the main cover off. Now we're going to lift the main cover from the back, and it does feel like something's going to break, but honestly it never does. As long as you've got all the screws, you're fine. If it's really hard, just go around and double check you've got them all out. Once inside, you get a clearer picture of how the hose attaches to everything. We're going to actually be removing this black part here, this nozzle, okay? But the problem is we have a couple of wires going over the top, and then the motor casing too, well, it's just a cover actually, that's holding it down as well. So we need to get rid of these wires. There's a little hoop on the top of this one. Now it normally breaks, so I just break it off anyway. Bit reckless, I know. You can feed the wires out of it neatly, it's entirely up to you. Also, there's a screw holding on the cover for the motor. That's a T10 screw. That just then lifts off, and the couple of wires that go over it too are also tucked in under a little hoop down on the left hand side near the circuit board. So we need to untuck those as well. And now we can just carefully lift the nozzle out from underneath all the wires and the cover. And now we have loads of room to work on the hose. I'm now going to pull the damaged part from the stem, okay? So you just use your hands, or you're going to end up probably using pliers. That's the best thing to use, to be fair. Make sure your eyes are covered. Don't want any coils springing about and taking anyone's eyeball out. So once we've got rid of all our hose, we just need to look up inside the stem, and you'll see the rubber cuff that lives in there. We're just going to pull this out with our long nose pliers. Really easy. Make sure that this is fairly clean. Wipe it with a rag, and if you have any plastic left over, you can heat it up with a hairdryer and the plastic will just peel off nice and easy. Ever so quickly, I just want to talk about glue. I'm going to put a little dab on the inside of this cuff before I put the hose in. I'm using JB Weld plastic bonder, but that's because I use it on everything. You can use any contact adhesive or any epoxy resin. I tend not to use super glue, okay, because that goes a little bit brittle in a few years' time. So put your dab of glue on the inside of the cuff, and listen very carefully, we are screwing the hose anti-clockwise. That is the most important thing here. If you go clockwise, it's just going to keep popping out. We go anti-clockwise, and it's still not the easiest thing in the world. Just have a bit of patience on these next few steps, okay? Once your hose is in, you'll feel it catch, and it'll be a solid connection. You can pull on it, okay? Now, if I was you, I would let this glue dry before you do any more work on this, okay? If this is dry, it's really easy to do the next step. If it's not, like I've done in this video, because I wanted to get the video done, it ends up all over your hands, and it makes the repair harder. If you look at the cuff, it's got 2 little noggins near the end, okay? Ignore the other 2, I have no idea what they're there for, I can't figure it out. But the other 2, they sit, so they're like each side of the stem, okay? So they need to be that way round. If you look inside, you'll see the little bits that they flick into, right? So we're pushing this in that way round, but we're not going to force it all the way in. We're going to get a flat-headed screwdriver and just tease it in, okay? This bit is a little bit tricky, but it means it's going to sit really nice. You're not forcing it up, and your hose isn't going to shoot out the other end of your cuff that you've just been waiting to dry, okay? So be nice and gentle and nice and patient. Once that's done, we need to pay our attention back to the nozzle that we removed earlier, okay? It's still got our old hose on it, and we need to take that off. It doesn't just twist off because it's got like this ring that goes around it that holds it on. We need to prise that off the nozzle with our flat-headed screwdriver. Watch your hands, please don't put your screwdriver through your fingers. It's really tough, but you'll get there. Once you've got half of it prized off, you'll find that you can actually then turn the hose and it all comes off nice and easy. We're not going to be reusing that silly little ring that was on it. That can go in the bin with your old hose, okay? We're just going to put a dab of glue on the nozzle, and then we don't have to leave this one to dry, by the way. We can just get straight onto it, turn it anti-clockwise onto the end of your hose. There's some little ridges in it that catch the hose coil, okay? Not ever so easy, but definitely easier than what you've just been doing. Once that's attached, we need to then obviously make sure that it's all roughly lined up. This nozzle has to go in a certain way, so we need to make sure that it's in the right position before we start trying to put it back into the floor tool. Once you're happy with the position of the nozzle, we need to put it back into the floor tool underneath the wires, and then we need to carefully hold it while we put in the motor cover. Once you've got the motor cover in place, you'll see how it all fits together. We need to put the screw in ASAP to just hold it in place, otherwise everything will keep moving. Your wires go neatly over the top, and make sure all the stem and all the pivot joints and stuff are all in a nice position, because we're going to be putting the cover back on in a second. But before we do that, I'm just going to ask you to please like the video or leave me a nice comment, because it helps keep the video alive. So hopefully in years to come, when some poor old bloke swearing at his Hoover is able to look at my video still, and obviously I get to help people for years to come. So yeah, please do that. That would be great. Another thing, if you need to find the correct hose, guaranteed the correct size for your model, then please go to my website, which is on the link in the description and in the top corner now. Right, let's get this thing back together. Just put the cover on, and we're going to start by just securing it with the 4 screws that go along the top. And then don't forget that plastic bit in the corner that goes on after the cover, and then secure it with the solitary screw that's in the corner. Now, once you've done all that, close it all up, flip it over, put all your T20 screws in. There's 2 at the back and 4 along the middle there. Once they're secure, that is it. You're back to vacuuming again. Go and chuck it on your vacuum cleaner, give it a run. Your suction is going to be amazing. If you need any more suction, go and clean your filters. I've got a video here how to do that.